In a small African village surrounded by lush forests and rolling hills, there lived a humble farmer named Kofi. Kofi owned a peculiar goat named Akua, who had a secret. Every Christmas Eve, under the bright light of the full moon, Akua could speak. But this Christmas Eve was different. The village had been struck by a terrible drought. Crops had withered, the river had dried up, and food was scarce. The villagers, once joyful, had grown bitter and hopeless. They had even decided to cancel their Christmas celebrations, a decision that saddened Kofi deeply. As the sun set and the full moon rose, Kofi sat outside his small hut, stroking Akua's fur. "I wish I could bring joy back to the village," he said with a sigh. Suddenly, Akua lifted her head and spoke in a calm, wise voice. "Kofi, do not despair," said Akua. "I have a tale to share, one that can bring hope and unity back to the village." Startled but intrigued, Kofi listened as Akua began her story. "Long ago," Akua began, "there was a village just like ours, plagued by famine and despair. One day, a stranger arrived, carrying nothing but a small, empty calabash. The villagers mocked him, for they could not see how he could help. The stranger, however, smiled and said, 'Bring me a handful of whatever food you have, no matter how small, and we will create a feast.' Skeptical but desperate, the villagers brought what they could, some millet, a few dried beans, a piece of fish, and even a single yam. The stranger placed the offerings into the calabash and whispered a blessing. To everyone's amazement, the calabash overflowed with steaming, delicious food. The villagers ate and celebrated together, their laughter echoing through the night. Their unity and shared hope restored the land's fertility, and the village thrived once more. When Akua finished her tale, Kofi realized what needed to be done. The next morning, he went door to door, sharing Akua's story with the villagers and urging them to bring whatever they could for a Christmas feast. At first, they were hesitant, but soon, even the poorest families contributed what little they had, some herbs, dried fruit, and even a pinch of salt. They gathered in the village square, where Kofi placed the offerings into a large clay pot. Just as Akua had promised, the pot began to fill with food, enough for everyone to eat and celebrate. The villagers danced, sang, and laughed together, their hearts full of joy and gratitude. As the moon rose that Christmas night, Kofi looked at Akua and whispered, "Thank you." Akua smiled knowingly, but did not speak, for her gift was only meant for Christmas Eve. From that day on, the village never forgot the importance of unity, hope, and sharing, especially during Christmas. And every Christmas Eve, Kofi would sit by the fire, stroking Akua's fur, waiting for her to share another tale of wisdom and wonder.